So has that impacted your voice and your playing even to this day, or?
My voice in particular, yeah. My playing is as slightly above average as it's ever been. But yeah, my singing voice with the crushed lungs, and then the tubes down the throat. You know, when you're laying on Gallatin and 7th, and the EMTs show up to save your life, they're not concerned with, now is this guy a singer and we need to make sure that we use the specific tube. You know, I mean, they're cramming stuff down your throat to try to get you to breathe and stuff like that. So, and I'm not complaining. Please, I don't hope no one takes that as a complaint. So yeah, it changed a lot about just the way my speaking voice was real strange for a while. Everything was real dry, it seemed like, and I remember asking my wife at one point, you know, was I always going to sound this way? Because my voice was, it's kind of raspy in the first place, but it was a lot worse for months.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, eventually, when I was able to sing again, kind of have relied on, you just set into habits as a singer, I think, where what comes natural, you know, for 12 years you just do and you rely on that. And then when that changed, I had to sort of reapproach everything as a vocalist. And it opened up some things, where all of a sudden I had to sing quieter because it was the only thing that I could do. But that in turn has led to me being able to do some different things now, even as I've gotten closer to where I was before, and can do the things that I was able to do before the accident vocally. It's sort of opened some doors to things that I wasn't able to do before that have widened, I think, vocally what I can do, and then in turn the material that I'm able to write and perform. It's made that a bigger net that we can cast with all that. So yeah, it's been educational for sure.
Yeah. Could you give me an example of something that you can do now that you couldn't do before?
Yeah, I mean, there's a song on the wreckage, the record that we finished right after the accident, and that song in particular, it's a very, very quiet, personal, upfront song that I wouldn't have been able to sing that way before. And there's a song on the new record called Trying to Be a Man, and it's that same thing. It's even more so, it's almost conversational in its delivery, and that's just something that I wouldn't have done before. Whether I could or couldn't have, I don't know, but I wouldn't have ever even thought to approach a song that way. And those are two of my favorite songs that I've done ever. So it's a nice thing to have kind of in the repertoire, I guess.
Yeah.
I hope.
As far as your songwriting itself, I mean, how do you feel like the accident changed you emotionally, and then in turn changed maybe the way that you write?
It's hard, you know, it's not as obvious as like all of a sudden, it's not like Jan and Dean and then I come back writing like Dead Man's Curve and stuff like that. You know, I'm not writing songs about scooter crashes and all of that, but it changes everything so much. I mean, really my appreciation for, even things that are non-musical, the appreciation for being alive, the appreciation for my family and things like that, all of those sort of parlay themselves, I think, into how you write, and not so much what I write about, but I feel like I've developed a bit more patience as a writer and even as a performer when we're recording and things like that. I noticed that before the accident there would be certain things that I would sort of hit my limit in the studio, or even as a writer as I was working on something. If the song didn't get finished in an hour, I would kind of just cast it aside and then never go back. And I think since then I've learned to have more patience, I mean, really, as a writer, and explore things that are a little more personal to me in the material. And that I think is, sometimes I think you worry maybe that it's too personal and people aren't going to understand it. And I think it's opened up something in me where I've got a little more of an ability, I feel like, to, if you make things even more personal, sometimes I think it becomes more universal in some ways too. And I don't think I had much of that before the accident.
Are you in the studio or finishing up your new record?
It is done.
It's done?
Yeah, and it'll be out September 27th. I think we started it, we were about halfway through the wreckage when the accident happened, so about half of that record I think was influenced by that sort of newfound attitude. Right. Whereas with this record, I think 100% of it was. From the start, you know, we instituted all of the things that I learned as a writer and as the front man, as the singer, as the band leader, as the producer, where we instituted some of those things halfway through before. We really instituted all those things right from the drop on this new record.
Yeah.
And I think it made it made a big difference in the process and in the end result too.
Yeah. As a producer, was this the first one
Mhm.
you produced?
It was.
What was that experience like?
I've always been involved in it. I mean, you know, because obviously being the artist, even when you're working with another producer, you're always sort of co-producing, or at least I was. And you can probably ask any of the producers that I always felt like I was co-producing.
Yeah.
But this is the first one where I've had ultimate say on all that, and it's cool because it's incredibly freeing in a lot of ways, but then it's also intimidating because you realize that anything that someone doesn't like about the record, you know, I can't blame it on the producer. Well, the producer wanted to do it that way. I'm the producer. But it was good because I was able to, the hardest thing I think is really being able to critique yourself. I mean, it's one thing to be able to listen to a drum part that you didn't play or a guitar part that you didn't play and say that's not good enough. But the hardest part is to listen to a vocal that I cut or a song that I wrote or a part that I came up with and being able to listen to it and have enough perspective to go, actually what I did isn't good enough. And then being able to then force myself to go back and do better.
Right.
And then really be able to stand back and judge myself. That was something that I'd never really had to do before. And I think I did a pretty good job on this one.
I know you have one single out already, but can you give us a taste of what the rest of the record is going to be like?
Yeah, the single is real R&B influenced. It's got a horn section and it's got a real sort of Memphis Stax soul vibe to it. And the rest of the record, it kind of runs the gamut of everything that I love in music. There's some very straight ahead rock and roll kind of stuff in it. There's some country tinged songs. There's some political material. There's some stuff that's just relationship fodder and all of those things. So I feel like it's just really the most representative of really who I am and the things that I love about music, kind of in one record. It would certainly be the thing if someone asked how to sum up kind of who I am as an artist. I would feel confident giving them this record to represent that.
So how long have you lived over here on the east side?
I've been here, we moved over about a month and a half before my oldest son was born. So we've been here almost 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us what you like about living over here and some of your favorite spots.
We love it. You know, I was worried. I lived in Sylvan Park for years and had a house over there and then sold it and moved over here. Love everything about it. You know, the neighbors have all been great in our neighborhood. The property in and of itself it's much greener. It's much quieter than where we lived over on the other side of town.
Right.
Watanabe's a favorite. It's right up the street. Mitchell's is great. We spend a lot of time in those two places. Pied Piper, they have a train table for the kids, so that's a wonderful, wonderful spot. Yes, I mean, Jenny's Ice Cream, I've now put on 10 pounds just eating there the last 3 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, there's really, I think we're real fortunate to have great, you know, little music venues and coffee shops and all those things. And a lot of that's really happened. It seems like I've seen it just in the last 4 years being over here. It seems to continue to grow. So it's a community that we're excited to be a part of.
Yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
have you gotten back on the scooter?
No scooters, no scooters.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Mhm.
I had a friend who got in a very bad motorcycle accident, but he couldn't wait to get back.
Really?
On the motorcycle, yeah.
Is he married?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's probably
That
right.
explains it, yeah.
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 I bet you're right. What do you feel like has changed in you over the years?
I would say that, I mean, the biggest part would just be my family. Whereas, you know, as a single guy, I mean, we were touring for years doing 250 to 300 shows a year.
Yeah.
And just be gone all the time.
Yeah.
And then as that's turned into, you know, a marriage and 2 kids, my desire to be just gone all the time, I mean, I don't have that desire.
Yeah.
But in turn, I've also got more of a desire. I think a lot of times when you look back over those 300 plus show years, they weren't necessarily all great shows. It was just playing to play.
Yeah.
And so big difference is trying to, because there's a very finite amount of time that you have to dedicate to your family and the road and things like that. So you can't really create more time with either one. So I think that it has to be, the thing that I've learned over the years is trying to up the quality of both of those things. Whereas when I'm home, trying to make sure that I spend as much of that time with as much quality time with my family and things like that. And in turn, when we tour, maybe it's less shows, but the quality of those shows, we want to make sure, it's way more important to us now that those shows be great, that we present a great show, and that all of the things are firing on the right cylinders and stuff like that. So I guess it's that pesky maturity that we're all in this business trying to avoid, but we've just sort of had to embrace. And over the last 3 or 4 years, it's funny because I feel like dedicating more quality to both has really made both a whole lot better for me personally. And I think that I feel like I hope my family and the fans would agree. Yeah, she's great. We met, she was a student at Belmont when we met, and had a desire, I think, to be in the music business. And then after about 6 months of us being together, realized that she didn't want anything to do with the music business.
You cured her.
Yeah, I brought one back. She's in grad school, finishing up her degree, and going to be a school counselor, hopefully over here at Dan Mills, as a matter of fact. And yeah, she's great. I mean, I can't say enough good about her. I literally wouldn't be here without her, so I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's all I have for you today.
All right. Hope I pass the audition.
You did.
Good.
You did. It was awesome. Thank
Good.
you so much. Very good.